me get started. And I'm going to tell you that spiritual and religious dogma are coming to the end for all of us. And it's not going to happen tomorrow, but it's going to happen. And it's happening where it's been happening for millennia, actually. We have to take the power back inside of ourselves. And we have to be our own worth. We have to be our own power. That's really powerful. That's really powerful. My God, that's so awesome. Yeah, the that it's the spiritual dogma that keeps us believing that we're separate from, we're less than, um we're not in any way truly connected, that we are somehow made of original sin. I can tell you historically why why this was never true, and it is coming to an end over the next, I'm going to say, next 10, 20, 30 years. I don't know if I'll be here to see like the full scale result of it, but um, the whole "you are made of original sin" thing was actually historically, this is historically based. It was created by a man in the third century who put it in the Bible. Said, "Hey, let's put this stuff in the Bible. You were made of original sin." And maybe even believed that in some way, whatever. But it comes from some dude. It comes from some dude. It's like, it's total crap. What we're missing is we're missing our self-mastery. Um, and we're missing that it's internal, you see. That's why the card is upside down. We're missing our internal mastery. Now, we've listened to a lot of things over the years, over however long you've been alive and into spirituality or religion. We've talked about all of these isms, all of these dogmas about, hey, I've got to be perfect. I've got to be good. I've got to be well behaved. I've got to, all this crap. You don't got to do nothing. And really, basically, we've done nothing. I don't care how many meditations, like group meditations I've been to or anything. And it's not that meditation is powerless. It's very powerful. But we need to understand, in my opinion, we need to understand why it's powerful and how it is powerful. Otherwise, we're just sitting in a room going, I'm being a good spiritual person. I'm being a good religious person. But when you go home, nothing has changed. You're still kicking the cat. Nothing has changed. You want things to change. You want your spirituality to actually change how you live your life, how you see your life, your relationship to your life. That's what you really want. Doing it right is useless. Have you ever seen any change in your life, in the quality of your life, in the quality of your relationships, in the amount of money, in the type of work that you do? Have you ever seen, hey, Devin, thanks, baby. I hope you're having a good day too. Have you ever seen something that you've done, and I'm talking for years, like, thanks, sweetheart, do something different for your life? Have you ever seen it make a change? Have you ever have you ever seen it make you less angry? If anger is sort of your stuck point. Have you ever seen it make you naturally feel something better? Because that's what I was always looking for. And I'm so glad you stopped by, sweetie. And Jen, thanks for being here, babe. I love you. And this is what we all need to be looking for. Two things, actually. The core. What is the core? What is the source code, if you will, to use current day parlance? What is the source code within each of us that could possibly, literally, factually shift where we stand in relationship to our divinity? to our internal experience. The other thing that we have to bring in is, and I just found my teacher about this very recently, and I'm completely in awe of him, but um, we have to be practical about what we're looking at. We can't believe things just because somebody told us to believe it. If it's not practical, if it's not bringing you to a higher sense of self, to a sense of your empowerment, to all of that, then it's not helping you. So then the question is, I think, you tell me what your question is from that at that point. But for me, the question is, how do you get there? How do you know? How do you know if your spiritual work that you're doing is doing you any good? Well, I have a spiritual teacher. Her name is Amachi. She's the hugging saint. And one way she answered that question was she said the only, or maybe somebody who spoke for her, I forget. But anyway, from her came, you'll only know if your behaviors change. Then you will know that things are going better, that things are changing, that you're making a difference inside. I beg to differ. I beg to differ with that. If you feel something and you can put an emotion to it, that's a great thing, because that's like your sonar. That's not your source code, but it is your sonar to the source code. So being aware of your emotions is super, super important. You know this because, my gosh, how many people get sick because they repress their emotions? How many people go and shoot up schools? God help us. Be, because they've repressed their emotions, and now they're really pissed off, and they don't know how to ask for help, or they don't know how to ask for love. They don't know how to be in the world. I mean, when we're talking about spiritual stuff, we're not talking about some kind of arcane sort of like, oh, it's going to be mysterious. You know what's mysterious? We are mysterious. We are. Being able to feel what you feel and being able to respond to that, to make a choice from that as to whether what you're choosing feels better or feels worse, that is power. That is power. Being able to sense something. Sometimes things are not about emotion, but they'll cause emotion. So if I say I really feel like crap, and then I have a different feeling, a different thought, let me put on my cool pink glasses because I love glass frames. I wear them like other people wear earrings. Anyway, uh, when I say something that feels a little bit better to myself, I can sense that it feels better, or I can feel that it feels better. So I may feel uh, the muscles in my shoulders relax, right? I may suddenly take a deep breath without even having known I was about to do that. I'll often sense a feeling of expansion or light within my chest. And then when I focus on it, I can say to myself, because it's true, that feels really good. There's not an emotion connected to that. Karina, you're too funny. Yeah, now you know who I am. The glasses she's referring to. Please, by the way, share this out. Share this live out. If you would, that would be lovely. And thank you for being here. I should have said that in the reverse order, because that's how I mean it. So what's been happening for all of us throughout our lives is we've tried to follow certain rules, right? We've tried to follow, here's what this says, here's what this person says, here's what that says, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we are really persevering sons of guns because, my God, we've gone for decades. And if there is any increase in stuff that's really good, it's been too little. When you think of the return on investment, it's so little. So anyway, I came across a man on YouTube, and he's absolutely brilliant. I don't know if he's still with us, but he's absolutely brilliant in looking at the underpinning, the meanings that are the the true arcane teachings, the true self-directed teachings in the Bible. Now, I'm not a biblical scholar, and I was raised Jewish. And I read the Bible when I was a little kid. My father had a whole bunch of books in the back room where we would sit and watch TV. And one of them was the Bible. And I remember I read it. And I was kind of fascinated. But then I didn't touch it again. I didn't touch it again until I went to a class about 13 years ago, 14 years ago, at the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. And it was a class about using the Bible in one of the ways that it is the most powerful and the closest to truths of us individually. And it was using it to see things about how we are and who we are within our lives. So take the story of David and Goliath, which is one of the things that they taught. And if you look at it as like a story that is kind of cool and you take it from the judgmental perspective, which is what we've been taught to do in traditional Christianity and the rest of it, then you have to like blame yourself or you have to judge yourself like, oh, I'm not God. I've got so much more than David did and I can't even slay my Goliaths or whatever it is that we do with all of that, right? It's like, or we say, I mean, you can make a million meanings out of that story because it's you get to make your stories. You get to decide what they mean until you get to the even deeper place where you start to look. Now, this guy is showing me the Old Testament. Now, the Old Testament is a nightmare, right? Somebody begat, somebody begat, somebody begat, right? And also, I mean, you just kind of breeze through, like you start with Genesis 1, right? And you just sort of kind of, I'm going to breeze through this stuff. God made this, God made that. But this guy pointed out something so completely intense. So let me see if I can find this document. What he pointed out was that in Genesis, I think it's Genesis 1, and it is, let's see. Anyway, it's one of the first, somewhere within chapter 26, chapter 27, something like that. God refers to itself. Here it is. Chapter 1, verse 26. God says, let us make man in our image. Our image. Not my image, not the image. Our image. And then it says in chapter 27, God created him, male and female, created he them. This is way before the whole thing with Adam and Eve. And the whole Adam and Eve thing is actually a completely different representation of something else. Do we really believe that God yanked a rib out of Adam and made a woman? That's the old church translation of something which is actually about how you access your consciousness. It's about how, anyway, I'm still learning from this man, but I'll share it with you each week as I learn because it's fascinating and it's freeing. It frees us from the dogma. It frees us from the insanity. So think about this. God says, let us make man in our image. Oh, and the word God, I'm going to tell you what he said about the word God as well. This is really fascinating. Let us make man in our image. So God is a plurality. God is not a single being. Okay? God is the all of us. We say it all the time. God is everything. We say God is omnipresent. God is omni everything. God is omni. But the thing we fail to do, it's not our fault. We've been taught to ignore all this stuff, but once we know it, if we want to be free, if we want to be free to connect with all of us, because you can't connect with just part of yourself and say, I'm going to connect with the divine. The divine is all. You can't be completely filled with the light you want to be completely filled with if you only offer a part of yourself to alignment with that light. which is what we do. So God is not singular. Let us create man. Let us make man in our image. This is from the traditional Bible. God, I can't even think of the dang name. Anyway, in the image of God created he him, male and female. Created he them. Guess what, Boys Club of America? Guess what, Boys Club of Religion? We're both in there. We're both there. We're both there. So that is really important. That is like, where did you learn that from? From the Bible. Not from me. You learned it from the Bible. You look at the Bible and you go, oh my God, this is amazing. So God is not a singular being. God is everything. God is male and female. Created he them. Created he them. Okay. So then God blessed them. This is Genesis 1:28. God blessed them and said, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. So what? Well, it's the word replenish. If this was a brand new, honest to God, new place, then he would say, oh, I don't know, plenish the earth. Like, here's this brand new thing. Go have fun and do whatever you want to do. Like, make something great out of it. Do something fabulous. That's what would have been said. This is replenish. The word replenish is something needs to be put back the way it used to be. What? What needs to be put back the way it used to be? I thought this was the creation of the world. If you look at this as the underpinning of how you come into your conscious alignment, in your consciousness, in your brain, in your alignment, then, oh, thank you, Twisted Brady's. Appreciate you. If you look at it this way, then it becomes a how-to manual for how you see yourself as the energy-based engine that is powered by your connection, your existing connection with divinity. And that's the real truth. And those of us who have even been saying that for a long time, there's a huge difference between saying something and living it. So all of the things that we say we know, we need to question. We really need to, if we want to be filled with that bliss. I mean, there have been, and there continue to be individuals in this world who live their oneness with the divine, and they're supremely human at the same time. My teacher Amachi, the hugging saint, you can look her up. She's one. Jesus was one, right? Buddha was one. There are many, many, many out here in our world. And I think the biggest thing that pushes us to start to question and start to say, how can I apply what it is I believe in? And how can I let go of the parts of what I believe in that don't actually work for me? Because I dare to believe that God wants me to be aligned, and that it's based in who I am and how I am connected. Yes, Devin, 100%. If we don't question, if we don't go, which are the parts that work for me? And I do believe that this divine thing, whatever it is on my side. We have this sort of lingering idea that there's this judgmental God, that there's this right way and wrong way. But if that were true, little kids wouldn't be as free as they are. What Devin said over here on TikTok was, we should especially question the things they told us are the devil or Lucifer. She says they try to disguise the truth as satanic, but it's just enlightenment and understanding energies. Yeah, and to take it even further, Devin, the satanic, well, it's not literally actually, but one thing that's been, and it's major, it's our divinity that's been excised from the translation. And I don't mean the literal, I mean the spiritual, the emotional, the practical translation of the Bible is the feminine. It's been relegated to, oh, okay. Yeah, it's been relegated to, okay, well, sure, women are part of the Bible. They give birth and they mother people. Come on. Come on. So where is the feminine hiding in the Bible? It's hiding in the actual text. It's hiding in the translation, in the emotional internal translation of the text. Here's another one for you. Chapter 3, Genesis chapter 3, verse 22. The Lord God said, "Behold, the man is become as one of us." Now that's back to the understanding that God is not a singularity. Okay. And remember, God is androgynous. God made man in our image, created he, him, male and female. To me, this is stunning stuff. This is stunning stuff. All of the ways in which our culture has positioned women to see ourselves as lesser in all different kinds of ways, and to accommodate ourselves to situations that don't suit us. Like, I mean, I don't know. I've been in relationships that were so horrific. That's not true. I've not been abused in certain way. Like, I've not been beaten. I've not been raped. Thank goodness. But I've definitely been in emotionally abusive relationships, and I stayed. I had my reasons for staying, and they made sense at the time. But what I want to suggest is that if we saw ourselves differently, if we started to see that the ways in which we see ourselves are even more systemic, they're systemically driven than they are emotionally driven. And why that's important is that we can actually switch things and not keep blaming ourselves or our issues for being the problem. We don't have to keep saying, what's wrong with me? Why did I stay in that relationship? Why did I stay in that job? Why did I put up with that thing? You put up with that thing because you were taught to, and you bought into the system. You thought, well, like we all did. We were all raised in this system, this social religious system of thinking. That's what we were raised in. And it traps you. It traps you into believing that what the structure is something you have to fit into, because if you step outside of it, it's sort of like stepping outside of oxygen. You'll die. You'll be rejected by the people who care about you. You won't have any, any food or I mean, it feels extremely real, extremely physical. And it feels very literal. It feels like I'm going to die. So knowing that it's this feeling of like, I can't break the social religious dogma. I can't go and be a badass woman out in the world. I'm not allowed. I can't break with some aspect of my religion or spirituality, because if I break with that, then I've got nothing to hold on to, or then I'll die. We can't go from that to, I'm just going to be a fantastic person and I'm going to do whatever the hell I want to do, and I'm going to get to God my own way. I mean, that's where I've always wanted to go. I always have questioned the rules. It's why my business is called the Goodbye Good Girl Project, because goodbye to following rules blindly. I don't want to just obey stuff. I need to question stuff to find out what really works, because for so many years I thought, oh my gosh, I have to pray the quote unquote right way. If I'm going to get God's favor, told you I was raised non-religious Jewish. So like, what did I know about anything? Pretty much nothing. Except I did catch all of the toxic Christian stuff, meaning like, of the original sin thing and all these horrible things that they tell you. Um, and I believed all this stuff, and I was trying, but at some point I went, this is just not getting me anywhere. And so I started questioning, and I started going, wow, what's going on here is, yeah, like I'm somebody who likes to go against rules in all kinds of ways. So I was like, screw it. If God exists, God's gonna have to prove it. I don't see any God around here, so hey, screw it. It's just gonna be the way it is. I'll just do me, and that's fine. Devin says amen over here. And this, I think, is where atheists are. I think atheists, because the thing that atheists miss is the the source code part. I have a very good friend who's an atheist, and he gets very, very, very angry um, about certain things because his belief is that there's nothing there to catch me. Like parts of his life have been incredibly difficult. Um, he was on his way to becoming a really world famous photography expert. When in France in his 30s, he dived into a pool at a hotel he was staying at, but it was like they call it a trompe l'oeil in French, like you couldn't tell that the place he was diving into was actually the short end of the pool, and he got a brain injury, and it stopped everything. It stopped everything. So he doesn't have he doesn't have any part. He doesn't believe any of the dogma, neither do I. But then he doesn't hold on to, he's not curious about then what makes me breathe. He's like not curious about it, which is interesting. And he thinks he's extremely curious, and he is, but only on a human level, not on the other part of his being, that's really interesting to me. Laughter is divine. Yeah. And Devin's over here going, God is us. We are God. The thing that they say at the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living is God in me, as me, is me. And I've said this before, but when I first heard that, I felt like it was an energetic breakaway. You know how you'll see like these big white snowy things and, isn't that gorgeous? Yeah. And it just like broke away from the other. I'm not making any sense. Sorry. I have the image in my head and I can't translate it. But for me, the idea of God had been out here, and then this thing broke off, and then God was like right here. And I went, oh, and I started crying, and I kept going to that place for a while. And every week I would cry, it was kind of great, actually. That kind of crying is fabulous. Oh, well, all kinds of crying are really good for you, but that felt so good. Oh, it felt so good. And so it encouraged me to keep looking. Where is hello? Because I had already met Amachi. And when you go into Amachi's arms, a very common experience is that you feel seen in every atom of your being, and there is no judgment of any kind. There's nothing that comes up within you where you go, oh gosh, I wish I could be like her, or oh gosh, I wish I could be a better person. It's gone. You are in unconditional love. The fact that unconditional love exists on this planet. When I met her, that's what made me go, okay, so it's real, because when I met her, I felt my oneness with her. And I don't mean just in an emotional sense. I felt every cell of my being just open and with light. It was like a mini enlightenment. It was so amazing. So that is a real thing. And I think that is what we are moving towards, but we're moving in the wrong direction if we're not questioning the dogma. even in spirituality. It's not only in religion, because the spiritual dogma comes from the religious. In that it tries to boil things down and make them so it's sort of like a quick pill. No, 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 no. There were some things I questioned in my spiritual journey, and some people really got upset with me. They got really upset with me. And they said to me, "You think too much." And at the time, I was so sensitive. Like, I'm still so sensitive, but at the time, I didn't have any armor or any way of seeing how that was just a reflection of them being, like, scared or uncomfortable. But I was saying, what does it mean? What does it mean to have faith? Like, what does that mean? Because I could see people having faith in different things, all different kinds of places. And, somebody would say, "Thank you, God," when something went wrong. And some people would say, "Thank you, God," when things went well. And I was like, I don't understand. And I wanted to understand. And I have a very strong mind and a very strong emotional body, and I have to have them in alignment, and so do you. Now, you can either like fall into it, wait for it to sort of come together, because we're always evolving. But if you want to evolve consciously, that's a whole different game. That's a completely different game. That's where you go, okay, I want to get out of the self-blame. I want to start to question things until I get a freaking answer. And I'm not going to be like, I'm not going to be pedal to the metal about it. I'm not going to be mean to myself about it. I'm going to hold it like an investigator would, or like a Sherlock Holmes would, or like just be in wonder. Like, I wonder. I really want the answer to that question. And as you go through your days, you're still wondering about it, so that you're sort of attracting the answer. Now, the other thing that I was questioning in spirituality was trust your heart. What the hell does that mean? Oh, Devin, she says, most of our beliefs were driven by the churches and no one questioned it for centuries. That's true. The Essenes, of whom Jesus was one, I should say Yeshua, because do you guys know that Jesus was not his name? Do you know that Jesus is actually, in Greek, it means Jesus, like not Jesus, like in Spanish, but hey, Zeus, it's right. God, what was I saying? So yeah, the Essenes were doing their beliefs, and the way they lived their knowing and their internal wisdom and everything was with the masculine feminine. And then the church came along, the people who wanted to create the church came along and said, "We would like the power. Thank you very much." And so they decided that they would get rid of the feminine. And actually, the God's name originally was Elohim. It's Elohim. It wasn't God. And there's some interestingly linguistic things. I won't try to fix that one. That were done. So with different words. Okay. So like they decided to call this Elohim because it was just too feminine. It had woman in it. And they didn't want that. So they wanted to have an asexual word that they could connect their definition to. So they were like, well, what is it? It's good. So let's take the O out and make it God. Okay, that sounds ridiculous, right? I know. Even as I say it, I'm like, seriously? But then my new teacher shows about the word evil is just devil without the D. And there are a bunch of other words that he shows that it's like, that's curious, isn't it? That's curious. Kind of just makes you think, which is my purpose here. I want to say, isn't that curious? And let's see, what does any of this lead to greater freedom? Devin says, I wish we could hang out and just talk all day about this. Our language is some sort some sort of hex. Oh, well, uh, I'm a sociolinguist. Actually, I'm an emotional linguist. I made up that phrase, by the way, emotional linguist, because I realized that one of my powers is to be able to talk to people through their emotional colors so we can hear each other better. So I called it emotional linguistics, because if I'm busy fighting you and you're busy fighting me because you want me to hear you your way and I want you to hear me my way, and we're not communicating. I don't care how freaking long we talk. We're not hearing each other. And linguistics is the language of emotion, in my opinion. And language is about emotion and vibration and meaning. EVM. Yeah. Emotion, vibration, and meaning. That's what words carry. It's backed up by our physicality, by how we hold ourselves, by whether we're really tense or we're just like totally chill, whether our shoulders are up like this or down, or whether we're like this, or we're like this, or we're like this. I mean, meaning is conveyed in so many ways, but yeah, words are my passion. They're so powerful. They are a kind of hex. And when you know that, you can start to learn and you can start to feel out into the world with them. So anyway, let's go back to this one word I said a lot earlier. Replenish the earth. That's what God tells Adam and Eve. Not Adam and Eve. Yes. Yeah. No. Genesis. Where is it? Genesis 1:28. Yeah, it's not Adam. God blessed them. Wow. And said, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. Now, the whole Adam and Eve thing hadn't happened. It doesn't happen till later. So this is all about the God created him, male and female created he them. God blessed them and said, be fruitful and multiply. Be fruitful. How? Multiply. How? And replenish the earth. Replenish. I thought this was new. I thought this earth place was new. Thank you, Devin. Well, what if it's not about the earth at all? What if it's about the earth of you? What if the male and the female are the two sides of your brain? The completeness of your nervous system. The completeness of you. Because you're not, I'm only human. No, you're not. No, you're not. You are the natural extension of divinity. You are made of that. You're not actually separate from it. In reality, in energetic reality, you're not separate from it. But we can, with our emotions and our beliefs and everything else, we can imagine that we are. And we don't, it takes a while to get to the understanding that we can actually practice our oneness as if it were true, as if we felt it, as if, and reach for the feeling of it, reach for the experience. Because think of this, if you are made of divine stuff, is there anything you can't do? What? Wait a minute. You mean I have the same powers as like I have access to doing what I want to do if I can figure out how to do that? Yeah. Yeshua said it. If you're a Yeshua fan, Yeshua said it. I mean, I'm a Yeshua fan and I'm not Christian, but neither was Yeshua. That's okay. He said those things that I do, you can do and more. You will do. Though you will do those things that I do and more. Have we? No. Because you see, he did not create Christianity. He did not create a church, a structure. He understood that structure has to be something else. I'm not going to say what it should be because I don't know that I know, right? But it the minute you get somebody standing in front of you going, this is how it is, and not allowing you to question, but having you just go with that rule, you've stripped away a part of the feminine of yourself, the part of you that understands growth, understands personal growth, understands how we are continuously birthing ourselves. We're continuously growing and birthing. We're in this continual, because that's what God is too. That's what God is. God doesn't just sit there on a cloud, right? Some guy with a white beard. But it's not just oh, of course I don't believe in some guy with a white beard. But it's also, God's not just this like still thing, but God's also not worrying about whether you cursed and took his name in vain. And it's not his anyway, it's theirs. It's his and hers. I don't know. It's like it's not a thing. There, like if your parents can be better than your idea of God, then that's not God. If your parent can forgive you for saying something that they found offensive and God can't, then who's your God? Right? So replenish the earth means to bring something back into its natural state. The natural state that we are born with is wholeness. Wholeness. I can actually remember as a very little kid feeling the energy around me. I wouldn't have called it energy. I didn't know what to call it. It's 4 years old. And I just felt like, there's something here. By the time I was 7 or so, I'd lost it. And they say that 6 is sort of the cutoff point for when you start going, wait a minute, I'm really focused in this human experience. And so whatever that was, it's not as important as me being able to cross the street without getting hit by a car. Right. But we have to come back. We have to replenish our earth. We have to replenish our earth. So I find this absolutely, this is scratching the surface stuff. This is just the beginning. The Essenes, one of their rules was you do not call anybody father or master. You don't do that because it's you with, it's right. That's very interesting. The church says, no, it's God the Father. No, it isn't. It's not even God and it's not the Father. It's Elohim, the masculine, the male and female. And it's you. It's you. We hear that message all the time. It's you. It's you. All the things you need are within you. But then we don't go and search for how that might be true because we're very enculturated to follow rules that will help us get there. We're very sure on some level that I couldn't possibly figure this out on my own, or I couldn't possibly do this. There's just sort of a core feeling. If I ask you, do you really think that you could? You might be honest and go, well, I'd like to believe that, but I really don't. But most of us will go, sure, yeah, of course I could if I wanted to. But either way, we're having that direct relationship, that direct feeling, and deepening it. Like if you've had that feeling, then the next forever steps are deepen it throughout your life. Deepen it. Because it goes like this, right? When you come in, you go, oh my God, it's me. Oh my God, I have the feeling. But you don't just then, I'm going to stay right here. No, it goes like this. It broadens, right? It broadens. You become so big. I remember when I first met Amachi in 1988. And she does a special ceremony where she lets more of her human mask go for the night. And the energy in the room can just about blow you out of the room. It's really, really, really powerful. Back in the day, because she was about 32, maybe 31 she's about 33, 34 when I met her. So she would sit in her chair and one of her legs would just go like this all night. And that's the like it's getting the body to integrate the heightened energy that you are the heightened oneness with the divine. So what'll happen when you're in meditation sometimes is you will have what are called kriyas, Kriya. You'll have kriyas. Because your body is coming into greater ability to cope with the increased energy. You're being shifted, you're being transformed, and it's happening at a rate that you can deal with. Because if you suddenly became enlightened today, we're not ready. We haven't been preparing. We've been preparing our understanding, our intellectual rule following, but we don't spend time following our emotion. We don't spend time following, how do I incorporate this goodness I keep hearing about, instead of keeping on trying to deserve it. You are it. How can you deserve something you are? You just are it. So being able to change the mind, the understanding around this stuff is so critical. It's not only just follow your heart, everything will be great. It's you have to. If I'm like following my heart, but my mind is telling me you're a piece of crap, Lori, how can I follow my heart? Because that's creating a much more currently aligned with emotion that's putting out a bigger energy. And no, Lori is actually fantastic. I make mistakes every freaking day. You know what? I'm still freaking fantastic. And I have to work on deepening that understanding, because I got to it, but there's still all the crap. But it doesn't all come up at once, because we can't survive that. We are living in time and space, and we have to take the time we need to walk into our expansion like this, right? It's not like I'm here and then boom, I'm there. Like, it doesn't work that way. Thank goodness. It's not the way it works. Does seeing anything about this in practical terms mean that godness, as I call it, doesn't exist? Absolutely not. But it takes that living, throbbing, passionate, compassionate, orderly mystery and puts it back into the mystery where we can actually touch it. It takes it out from behind the curtain of rules. And to me, that is incredibly exciting. Incredibly, incredibly exciting. Okay, now, let me tell you a really cool thing about the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden. This is so cool. So, all of these stories in the Old Testament, they're not, in the Bible, they're not about actual events that we're supposed to look at and then decide on our behavior, whether our behavior is good or bad, or, that's not what the deal is. Hold on. Woo, excuse me. So let's take the Garden of Eden. So this incredible man, I promise I will tell you his name. Do you know that he talks about, do you know that whole thing about, thank you, Devin. She's like, bless you. Thank you. How we only use 10% of our brain. So check this out. We have the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. Left hemisphere is the masculine. The right hemisphere is the feminine. And in the Bible, when they talk about West and East, that's what they're talking about. Wise men came from the East, from the feminine. The wise men are like the recognition of the divine within you. So cool. So if we've developed the 10% really, really well. But over here is not only the subconscious, but just like this is where the spiritual downloads. And then we make sense of it over here. We put it all together and we have like the most beautiful experience ever. This is, and this is the right side of my head. It's showing backwards on over here for sure. Anyway, so this is the Garden of Eden. And we've got all kinds of weeds and trees and whatever, dragons that we've created that we're like, I can't go in there. I love this idea because God is a mystery, but it does not make sense to me that we would be planted on this earth for different lifetimes and be given no access, no way to access who we really are in our fullness. Now, I don't know why the game is set up this way. And if I were going to sit down and talk with the divine spirit, I'd have a thing or two to say. What the heck? What is this game about? And why do so few people get to play it from the divine? Well, because they chose it, because they have free will. Ah, shoot. Really? Yeah. Yeah. Well, wait a minute. Okay, I got free will. Are you telling me that I decided to go through that miserable relationship, to go through homelessness, to go through losing all of my money, that I chose that? I didn't choose that. No. Yeah. You didn't do it alone, though. Oh, okay, that sounds a little better. What do you mean? Well, you're not really there. What? Excuse me, if I hit myself, it hurts. I'm here. Trust me. I mean, hello? The best I understand this at this point is our real identity, our real source code is the divine. It's the energy. I call it the energy because otherwise we get into a lot of trouble with definition. And it is energy. Anyway, physics and metaphysics, one and the same. What? It's true. Physics and metaphysics, the same thing. It's energy, and it's the movement of energy, and it's the attraction factor of energy, and the repulsion factor of energy, and it's the creative factor of energy along with our will. But my inability to go against that, having understood that, led me to the idea and the understanding that there's more to me going on than I know, right? If my Garden of Eden's over here and I feel like I can't get in there, there's plenty going on in the Garden of Eden. There's plenty of bliss over there to go around, right? Plenty of bliss in there. So there's also a whole lot of connection. And they say, it is said that that's our real source code. And so we go through all these different lifetimes, right? At least that's my feeling about it. It's been an experience that's based on an experience that I had, not with dying and coming back, but it's a whole different story. And it's based on that idea that we're going through all these different lives. Well, we don't just go through them because we think it's fun to suffer. That's ridiculous. But what we do is we come with a purpose to learn something. And I don't know that we actually sit there and go, I think I'd like to go broke. No. But it could, I think what makes more sense to me is that we go, I need to understand this lesson. I need to feel this thing. And for me, I think what I needed to feel was capable. I needed to feel the I can. And so I put myself in situations where all I had was I can't. I think I wanted to push myself in this life to learn that I can anything. And that has a lot of different lessons in it. I mean, I felt for many decades that there was nobody here. There was no spirit, there was no God, there was no anything for me. Even with Amachi in my life, even with her in my life, I was so focused only on the physical that I was like, "But she's not here." And, like, I despaired a lot, and I mean despair. And it was only, "Okay, Devin, bye, sweetheart." No, you spelled it perfectly. And it was only when I got to myself, when 3.5 years ago, I realized that I have the ability, that I can I can up-level my emotional set point and thereby change the experience, the quality of my life, where I stand in relationship to my life, what comes into my life. That ism of, like, you are the co-creator of your life, that's very nice, but I actually experienced it. I experienced my power to do and be that. Once I had that, then I was like, because I could feel both what I was doing on the physical plane, and I also could feel and experience the shift that was magically happening. And I went, "Oh." And now I have to keep doing this because it's not a one and done. It's just not a one and done. Anyway, let me tell you, if any of this kind of stuff interests you, then the man that you need to go look up is a man named Bill Donahue, Donahue. He's from New York. He's very funny. If you are a churchgoer, he might offend you. However, he's absolutely despairing of religion entirely, and I tend to agree with him from the perspective of knowing that it's a man-made creation, and I want to get as close to God as I can. I want to be with, I want to be of, I want to be the co-creator. I want to do all that stuff. So, but if you're into this, then that's the guy to go look at, Bill Donahue, Donahue. Um, so what he does is he looks at all of these different stories from the Bible and factually he does, like, fact checking to see, like, to make the Bible practical. And I've always looked at spirituality to figure out how to make it practical. So he's like my brother. He's like, yes. Um, Here's another one. The Essenes practiced a mystery religion. I'm reading some notes over here. Practiced a mystery religion of keeping silent, keeping secret. That's also in the Hindu thing. Like when you're given a mantra, don't tell anybody. You keep it within yourself. You keep that energy within yourself. You keep it to you. Um, some other ideas, some other really, and then I'm going to let you go, but one other really cool thing. At the time that Paul was preaching, there were no first books of the Bible. There was no Paul, Mark, etc. He was preaching from the Essenian. And the Essenian actually came from India, from Krishna, from Shakyamuni Buddha, Gautama Buddha. I love history. I love spirituality. I love divinity. And it's the only safe place. It's the only dependable place, so I need to be there. So what all of this work has done for me is it has put me into a commitment to daily meditation because now I understand why. I understand that what I'm doing is I'm clearing the path to my garden of Eden, to my being complete, to my being so in alignment that it really doesn't matter what happens in the external world. Not that I'm not going to care about it. That's not the point, but that it doesn't, whatever happens is I'm protected by my being a higher energy than anything around me. So I understand the energy. I understand how that works. I've been around it a lot with Amma and other great beings. It's just like, it's an astonishing thing, truly astonishing thing. So go look up Bill Donahue on YouTube. He has, I don't know how many hundreds of videos. He did not make his living doing this. He was an ex-Catholic. Um, Although he seems very Jewish to me, and he keeps using the Yiddish word fakakta, which means crazy. He goes, they make you sit there with a fakakta thing on your head, so them trying to make women look like they're crazy people. And he's very, very hip to the oppression of the feminine. So I'm completely in love with the man. Sadly, he might be gone. Nobody seems to know if he's still alive, but chances are good that he's not, which makes me sad. I would love to speak with him. I wish you a beautiful week. Make it, as Captain Picard would say, make it so. Yeah. Lots of love, you guys. And Moxie. Be brave and take a step outside of your norms. Bye now.